Award-winning farmer Peter Yalens leads the world in sustainable winemaking. Yalens wines are produced with a zero carbon footprint. It's world-class wine that doesn't cost the earth. Peter Yalens Wines, for the love of the land. Yalens Wines are proud to be a part of this edition of Vintage New Zealand Farm Machinery. Close but no cigar.
Well, we can't win them all, mate,
Yeah.
but better to tried than failed than never tried at all.
Yeah, well, it started beautifully. And
It did.
Yeah, and is that, you had a bit of a tinker with it before
Yes.
we got going, but
Yes, it's an air-cooled six-cylinder German motor actually, a Deutz motor, and it always starts like a beauty. Well, it always used to. I was a bit surprised it started so good after such a long spell, but...
And do you think air cooling motors actually does make quite a difference sitting around?
Well, that particular one, there's no water to leak down into the engine if it wants to go that way, so that must be a bonus, but yeah.
But it also highlights this sort of country, Papa country.
Oh.
Once you start sliding sideways like you did then.
It's non-forgiving.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was my fault because after many years in the bush sitting there, the tracks had gone flat, Mike.
Yeah.
And I'd taken the grease guns home early this morning. I was supposed to put a new cartridge in and bring them back and pump them up, but of course.
Yeah, and what does it mean when the tracks are going flat? Because we think of pneumatic tyres going flat, but not the tracks, yeah.
Yes, no, certainly no air in the tracks on that machine.
Yeah.
But it has a large hydraulic ram in it, and you pump it full of grease and it expands, and as it expands it pushes the front idler forward. And as it pushes it forwards it tightens the tracks.
I see, and the idler is what is tightening the tracks and as the tracks are running on.
Indeed, yeah.
So what happens now?
Oh, back to the drawing board after a cup of tea and put the track back on.
Well, on the way in we saw another couple of little beasties surrounded by blackberry in one case. Can we go and have a look at them?
Why not, Mike? Let's go and check that out, eh? Well, in the hill country, you've always got a running start if you require it. And as batteries, don't last forever, the old ones and the old machinery get a bit sad at times, so we've parked the vehicle on the hill so we can get a run start. So I'm just going to go up now and bring it down so we can take these batteries down to the next machine and we'll go from there, Mike.
Exploring our grievances, sharing ideas in the one place that nobody owns. Common ground where all can meet. Common ground in
Plenty of Warrington Ridge on this good vehicle. Keep the law.
common ground to share our concern. Common ground where all come as one.
Well, this little fella, Mike, it's an Alice Chalmers. It's that's known as the HD5. Came out in the mid-1950s. Beautiful little machine. They got the GMC motor in them, which was a supercharged two-cylinder motor.
It's an interesting relationship, Alice Chalmers and Chevrolet.
Yes, yeah. Well, General Motors, as you say, Chevrolet, they got involved in supplying engines to Alice. And some of the Alices did, of course, have their own motors, but this particular one's got the supercharged twin-cylinder Jimmy in it.
And so what does supercharge in terms of a 1950 GMC bulldozer mean?
Well, it means you get a lot more power. It's a two-stroke motor, so every time the piston comes to the top, she's got compression, she gives it a lot more power. But by forcing more air in, you can get a bigger explosion and hence more drive, more power from the same amount of cubic capacity of engine.
Now, were these standard as a bulldozer, or...?
No, most bulldozers that came to New Zealand, Mike, were actually dozers for pulling. They didn't actually have blades on the front, but various people, Hamilton up in Auckland way, or up in Hamilton in fact, and Track Grip down Palmerston, they made a lot of blades. A lot of local engineering companies made the hydraulics. So all the hydraulics were basically aftermarket stuff. They were designed as a pulling tractor, but of course once the blade got on, they were beautiful for breaking in hill country and that.
And I noticed that's the reason for the big winch on the back.
Well, again, believe it or not, this little fella can get you into trouble too. I've been stuck a couple of times, and without the winch on the back, I would have had to call somebody in, $1,000, $1,500 every time. But this machine, along with a spare one for spare parts, when scrap was cheap, the two machines cost me $600 for the pair. So, and this one had a winch on the back, so it's paid for itself many times over.
Let's see if your magic can work this time.
Aha!
We've got the batteries from the digger. Come forward to the Alice.
Indeed, yes.
Yes. So let's have a go and see how it goes. And again, what is it?
Alice Chalmers HD5.
HD5, right.
Fitted with a blade out the front and a winch out the back.
Well, while Ben's putting batteries in, Mike, what things have you done this morning before we arrived to try and get it out?
Well, we did, again, it had a broken hydraulic hose, so we haven't actually fixed the hydraulic hose on this, Mike, but this does have the ones that you're able to fix yourself. You don't have to shoot them into town. But basically, when it blew the hose, it blew oil all over it, hence you'll notice it's a bit filmy. But at this point, we'll just put the one battery in, take the cap off the exhaust, and go for broke. If that doesn't work, we'll put a second battery on to give the boost for the first one, and then we'll pull out here towards you.
That seating looks a bit rough if you suffer from piles, Mike.
Oh, she's not comfortable, believe me, but hey, when you're in the bush, Mike, you just make hay while the sun shines. If it doesn't shine, you make hay anyway. Well, we'll see if we can get any contact out of this fella. We'll cheat a little with this one, Mike. We'll give it a little shot of magic start, ether, or as the Aussies call it, start you bastard. Well, we hear little growly noises, but every now and then it takes a while to get the starter just in the right position. Now the battery on there. A little bit of fierce knocking there. That's an indication that we've put too much aero start in it. But we'll try again. As you can see, we've blown another hydraulic hose. It won't lift the blade, but it has splattered all over my leg and over the side of the machine here. But at this stage, we'll have to come back and do a little bit more repair before we can actually drive away. But at least she started. She's trying to do something. Quite often the clutches in these will freeze when they've been parked up for any length of time. Fortunately, we've got this clutch working now, as you've just seen. But on the other hand, as I say, we've broken a hose, so we can't do a lot more. We can't lift the blade, so we can't drive right out of the bushes at this stage. But at least the motor's going, the machine's come a little bit more to life. So we'll go and have a cuppa and deal to it after.
Award-winning farmer Peter Yalens leads the world in sustainable winemaking. Yalens wines are produced with a zero carbon footprint. It's world-class wine that doesn't cost the earth. Peter Yalens Wines, for the love of the land. Yalens Wines are proud to be a part of this edition of Vintage New Zealand Farm Machinery.